When you think of jam recipes, you probably think of this book. And although this strawberry jam recipe has been used by home cooks for many years, we know we can do better.
That's right. That recipe was too sweet, it was too thick, it didn't have enough fresh berry flavor. So we made over 200 jars of jam.
200 jars of jam.
200.
That's a lot of jam.
It is a lot of jam. But we wanted to put that fresh fruity flavor front and center. So it all starts with berries. And I have 3 pounds of strawberries here, cut into half-inch pieces. Put them into our Dutch oven.
And I can see how full this Dutch oven is, so using a big pot must be pretty important here.
Yeah, you want a nice big heavy pot. And now I'm going to take a potato masher and I'm going to start crushing these berries.
Oh, before you start cooking?
Yes, this will shorten the cooking time, which will preserve a lot of that fresh fruity flavor, so it just kind of jump starts things. I want them to be pretty broken down, but not completely. I would still want to have some chunks in the jam.
This doesn't look like an overwhelming amount of jam.
No, this is a small batch. It's not a project that's going to take all afternoon or all day, and it's actually pretty easy to do. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to add 3 cups of sugar, and I'm adding 1 Granny Smith apple that I peeled and grated.
Oh.
Now the apple contains a lot of natural pectin that'll thicken up the jam without giving it that really overly gelled texture, and it also adds a nice little bit of fruitiness. And then finally I'm adding 2 tablespoons of bottled lemon juice.
It sounds weird that we're adding bottled lemon juice to fresh berries for making jam, but there's a good reason, and that reason is safety. When you buy fresh lemons, the acidity in the juice can vary dramatically. Yet when you buy bottled lemon juice, the acidity is always the same, and that's important so that your jam has the right pH for canning.
So I'm going to turn this on. I want medium-high heat, and we're going to bring this to a boil, let all the sugar dissolve, and we're going to cook this for 20 to 25 minutes. We want it to get nice and thick, and we want it to reach a temperature between 217 to 220 degrees.
Right, and it's at that temperature that the pectin will do its work and the jam will start to thicken up.
You got it. All right, you can see how it's getting really frothy here.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to stir it to prevent it from boiling over. What you don't want to do is turn down the heat and bring it to a lazy boil. That'll just extend the cooking time. You'll cook off a lot of that fresh fruity flavor, and it'll be harder for it to gel up.
All right, so let it do its foaming thing, but just stand here and stir it constantly.
That's right, and this foaming will subside a little bit after a few minutes, but as you can see, whoa, it really gets going.
This is like extreme jam making right here.
Yep. Don't go check your email.
You got this under control.
That's right. The jam's been boiling away here for 20 minutes, so we're going to take its temperature, and the first thing to do is to whisk it out to even out any hot spots. I'm going to tilt the pot so I have a nice deep pool. I'm going to wave the thermometer back and forth, and we're looking for 217 to 220. There we go. All right, so I'll turn that off. And now I have a plate in the freezer that I put in earlier, so grab that for me. And there's lots of different ways to test the consistency of a jam. This is our favorite way. We take a teaspoon of the liquid, put it on the frozen plate. We'll throw that back in the freezer.
Okay.
And we'll check it in 2 more minutes.
Okay.
So it's been about 2 minutes.
Here you are.
Thank you. So we essentially super chilled the jam, so we'll know what it looks like when it sets up. I'm just going to drag my finger right through the center here. And you can see how it leaves a trail.
Yeah.
That's how we know that it's ready to go. We took some pictures in the test kitchen to show you what it looks like when it's not ready to go. There's no trail, it all runs together. If that happens, you need to put the jam back on the stove, let it boil for 3 more minutes, and then do the plate test again. All right, I'm going to skim off some of the foam. You can see on the top of the jam here.
So you want to skim off the foam on top of the jam, not because it'll make the jam go bad, but that foam will actually set up and you'll have foamy jam.
Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now it's time to start canning. We have some jars that are in hot water here.
Yeah, and I can see you're all set up to do this.
That's right, I have all my tools. We have a big pot of boiling water. We have the jars sitting there on a jar rack.
Okay, and so they're sitting in the hot water. That's to sanitize them?
No, actually, because we're going to be processing the jars for more than 10 minutes, the USDA says you don't need to sanitize the jars. But they do need to be hot, because otherwise the hot jam could crack the glass.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and take the hot jars out, and we'll just drain off the liquid. I'm just going to bring them over here to my towel. We'll set them upside down to drain for a minute. Now it's finally time to get that jam in the jars. So I have a funnel here. This will just make the job a lot easier. So we just ladle it right in. And I want to leave a 1/4 inch of headspace, the distance between the top of the food and the top of the jar. If you don't leave enough, there'll be no room for the food to expand as it processes. So we're good to go. Now I'm going to take a skewer and I'm going to put this down into the jam. This is to remove any air bubbles. If you leave those air bubbles unchecked, they could rise to the surface and they could prevent the jar from sealing properly. Okay, so I'm just going to wipe off the edge of the rim here so it's nice and clean so we'll be able to get the lid on properly. And now I'll put on the lid.
And now these modern lids don't need to be heated before you put them on the jar. You just use them as they are.
That's exactly right. And you'll see I'm not really cranking the lid on really tight. I just want to do what we call fingertip tight. If you tighten the lid too much, oxygen may not be able to escape, and that's a key part of the process. So you just want to get it fingertip tight.
Fingertip tight.
That's right.
Got it.
So one down. Let's move on. Let's do another one.
It's like a little jamming party.
I know. Get rid of those air bubbles. Put on the lid, fingertip tight. And now we're ready to get these into the boiling water. It's ready to go. So if you want to take that lid off for me, put the first jar in. So we have boiling water here, and I have a jar rack that's holding the jars upright in the water. You want at least 1 inch of water to cover the top of the jars. Okay, you can put the lid back on for me. Thank you. So we'll bring that back up to a boil, and once it starts boiling, then we'll start the timer. We'll let it go for 10 minutes. Then we'll shut off the heat and just let them sit in the hot water for 5 more minutes. That just gives the food time to settle down and lets that vacuum action start to happen where the metal lid gets pulled inward.
Now that's for sea level, right?
That's right.
Okay, so if you're at a different altitude, you might have a slightly different boiling time. And you can find those boiling times on our website at americastestkitchen.com.
Are you excited to try some jam?
I am.
Me too. I can't wait. So we even made these cute little labels with the,
Those are cute.
yeah, with the date and the name, so we know exactly what we have in case we really get going and have a whole bunch of jam.
Now, before you pop this lid open, I want to show that that lid is still depressed. And that's important because that lets you know that the food inside the jar is still safe. If you see that depressed lid and you have to really pull to get it off, it means you have no bacteria in there that's going to make you sick.
All right, let's pop this open. And like you said, it takes a little bit of force. And we have some scones.
I know, these are gorgeous. Would you like some butter?
I would love some butter.
You can tell right off the bat, this is not your average jam from the supermarket. It has a nice dark color and it smells like strawberries.
It has a really nice consistency too. You can see it's not too thick.
This jam's amazing. It's one step away from eating a fresh strawberry.
That is
Wow.
so good.
Uh-huh.
It was so much fun to make.
It was fun to make.
It was so good.
Becky, awesome job.
Thank you.
To make the best strawberry jam at home, start with great berries. Then shorten the cooking time by mashing the berries first, then add the sugar and bottled, not fresh lemon juice, and shredded apples for a boost of natural pectin. Bring it all up to a boil and keep stirring until that mixture is thickened. Then use the frozen plate test to make sure your jam is properly set up. Finally, put it in the jars, add the lids, and process it. And there you have it, our foolproof recipe for classic strawberry jam. I'm going back for seconds.
Me too.
Thanks for watching America's Test Kitchen. What'd you think?
Well, leave a comment and let us know which recipes you're excited to make, or you can just say hello.
You can find links to today's recipes and reviews in the video description.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
See you later.
I'll see you later.